Hey guys, welcome to this episode of On Another Line. Today we're going to be talking about how to attach backer or monofilament or some kind of cheap line to your spinning reels that you're going to be adding braid to. One of the biggest things that I see people doing is putting braid directly to their any kind of spool, whether it be a bait casting spool or a spinning spool, and eventually that braid actually loosens up over time, and it makes you feel like that your drag on your reel is not actually working correctly. But what happens is when you pull on it, the braid is loosened up all the way to the spool and it has nothing to bite to. So the idea of putting backer on a reel is so that the braid has something to bite to and it doesn't loosen up over time and cause the spool to actually spin, or the braid. I'm actually going to be putting Power Pro moonshine collar on this new reel and rod I just picked up, headed to St. Clair here in a few days. You see I still got the old tag from the tackle box. This is the brand new Shimano Vanford. This is a 2500. I've done a video on this. I picked up a new Poison Adrena. You guys know how well I like these rods and reels, but today we're going to focus on how to tie an arbor knot to attach backer to a spinning rod or spinning reel so you can actually spool up braid when the time comes. Gotta get your arms way up in a cast and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. Gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loomis rod. I bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck, give it a whirl. Hello and welcome to my world. So let's jump right into it. First and foremost, you're going to need a spinning rod or a reel of any kind. You can use this knot pretty much on any reel out there, but I'm using some well, my truck is leveling there on me, sorry. I have just some cheap Suffix 10-pound test here. I wouldn't recommend using high-end stuff here. This is just something, this is waist line. You're never going to use it. It just allows the braid again to bite down on the spool. So let's jump in a little closer. Let's look at this, how I tie an arbor knot, as well as how to attach braid to the backer using my favorite knot, the uni to uni. However you like to choose to tie your knot onto your braid or from your backer to your braid, that's totally up to you. Again, this is not the end-all be-all way. This is just my method. If you find this to be helpful, hit that like button down there and give it a share if you don't care. So let's zoom in. Let's jump right into it. All right, so you have your spool. First and foremost, on Shimano reels especially, but most other reels also have this. It's a little sticker here used for marketing. Shows you, this one here shows the Magnum Light rotor as well as X-Protect, and I believe, yep, long stroke spool. That's a couple of things with this new Shimano Vanford. Again, I'm not going to get into this reel that in detail, but this is a brand new reel to me, so I'm gonna have to put some backer on it. There's a little tab here again. Could be totally different from your reel, but yours may not even have one on here, but you definitely want to take this off of there. So it gets you down to the actual spool of the line. First off, you want to open up your bail here. The thing about this is, guys, this if you forget and you tie your knot like this, I know every one of us has done this before, and then when you start reeling the line on there, nothing happens because it obviously can't grab a hold of that. A quick tip around that: take your drag nut totally off, pull your spool off, and then flip the bail over, put the spool back on there, flip it back over, and you're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run some line through the stripper guide here. And again, I'm just using cheap Suffix line here. I don't use this stuff anymore. I just use it as a backer. You guys know I'm a Sunline guy. But anyway, I'm going to run it through the first eye here. And this is almost out, so it looks like it's coming off of both ends. So I'm going to run it just through this stripper guide here. Matter of fact, I'm going to cut this tag off. Popping tags. So, top stripper guide. I'm going to run this line through there just to give it something to pull against. And then I'm going to go down and we're going to get into the meat of this video, and that is the arbor knot attaching this to the spool. So I'm going to try my best to show you this as close as possible. Alright, so there it is. I have my line coming off the spool, coming through the stripper guide. Guys, this knot cannot be any more simple. You guys all know how to tie a half hitch. It's just one simple loop like this. And then you're going to pull it in. Just like you would tie a basic knot. You're basically only going to tie 2 of those. So first thing you're going to do, let me get a little bit more line off here so I can work with it. So I'm going to wrap my line around my spool, and I'm going to tie a knot, a half hitch basically, around that line. So let's get it here. So there you go. You can see that I have just a half hitch tied. Zoom in here a little closer, you can see that. So I have just a half hitch tied around that line coming off of the spool. It's wrapped around the spool here, and then I have a half hitch tied around that line, the working line coming from the spool of line I'm going to be putting on there. You're going to tie 1 half hitch here right on the end of that tag line, and what this is going to do, this is going to lock itself down or cinch itself down so it can't go through that first half hitch that you tied. I can get my fingers here to cooperate. And again, this doesn't go around any line, we're just tying a half hitch around. So notice, I have this half hitch here. Apologize if you can't see that, it's kind of shady here. But I have this half hitch, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this one tight. This one here is kind of loose, but I'm going to make sure I pull it tight too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the line coming from the spool of line, sorry, the line spool. I'm going to roughly center this thing up. I'm going to pull on it, and you're going to see that line cinch down on there, and you're going to see that first half hitch pull all the way down on the reel. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a pair of clippers, and you're going to clip this line right here down as close to the knot that you just tied as possible. Clippers, all my stuff's in my boat, so I'm using some fingernail clippers here. I'm going to clip this thing down as close as I can to that knot without cutting the knot. You also don't want to cut the half hitch that's holding it from going, the tag line from going through that other half hitch. So at that point, you're ready to throw the old bail across, and I'm going to reel up some of this line here. So usually I just cover the line or the reel spool about 1 solid time, roughly like that. That's all you need. You don't need a ton of backer on there. Maybe go just a few more spins. But what this is doing, guys, again, gives the braid something to bite to on the reel so it doesn't spin. At this point, you would tie on your braid, and again, this video is not about that, but I'm going to show you my favorite, and that's the uni to uni. So I'm going to trim off this line really quickly so I can have something to show you to tie to here. Alright, so I have some 80-pound Power Pro. Guys, I'm not throwing 80 pound on here. This is just all I have for right now. The rest of the stuff's in my boat. I have some blue Super Slick. This is the version 1 Super Slick. But I'm just going to get the line out here to show you how I would tie it if I were going to tie a uni to uni. So the tag line coming from the backer of your reel, or the backer line coming from your reel, and you would have, again, this is 80 pound. I'm not going to use 80 pound ever on a spinning reel unless I'm in the ocean. Right now I'm not. So to tie my backer to my line, I use a uni to uni. There's a video on my channel about that. We're just going to overlap the line. I have the tag end of the line coming from the reel spool there, as well as the 80-pound Power Pro, and you're just going to tie a uni to uni, which is basically the half hitch that we've done in this video. But you're going to take your tag end here and you're going to wrap it around both of those lines, the Power Pro braid as well as the backer. Then I'm going to wet this with lake water or saliva, totally up to you. And I'm going to pull that fairly tight. I don't want to over tighten it. And then where the knot's at, here's the tag end of the Power Pro, the opposite side of that. I just switch my hands around so I can do the exact same thing here. I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to pinch it with my fingers, like right here. So I have this, get in the sun here. So I have this loop, and I'm pinching what I want to tie it to, as well as the braid, and I'm going to wrap that braid around 3 or 4 times. I prefer 4 times. That's totally up to you. There's 3. And again, I'm not saying this is the end all, not for everybody. Everybody says it's too big, but I enjoy it. This is what I use right here. So saliva, lake water, and I'm going to pull that down tight. Obviously, guys, this knot is going to be absolutely huge because I am using I'm using 80-pound test here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pull these 2 lines together. I don't want to cooperate with the old 80-pound braid. So now you have that knot right there, and then you'll just trim both of these tag ends off with a pair of clippers, and then you'll spool. And you can actually, hopefully you guys can picking this up here. You can actually trim these tag ends all the way down to the knot on the uni to uni. That's one of the main reasons I like it. These clippers are probably not going to hold any kind of weight compared to this 80-pound braid, but I'm going to try. There we go. It's not the best knot. You can see those frayed ends right there. You can actually get that a little closer down to the knot and be better. So there it is, guys. That's the arbor knot that I use to attach backer to my fishing reels when I'm going to be adding braid. You can also use this exact same knot to attach any line to the spool of a reel in case you're wanting to use that line solely. For example, I use the same knot to tie on my sun line to my spinning reels that I just have fluoro on, as well as some mono do the same thing. Most of the time, guys, if I'm using a bait caster, I don't even tie a knot at all. I usually just put it through one of the holes in the spool and spool that bad boy up. Right or wrong, that's my way. This is the arbor knot tutorial coming from on another line. Hopefully this helps you out, allows you to make sure that your braid doesn't slip on your spool anymore, and you can get out there and lean on them. We'll see you next time on another line.